Okay, here's how the layers palette works. I have my layer palette torn off over here. It's a little different than Photoshop. Whenever you create a new object or type or anything, it won't automatically create a new layer. It creates a new sublayer. This is a little bit confusing, so you're going to need to manage this. So by default, I have one layer, and you can create new layers by clicking the little folded paper button. Create new layer. You can also expand this layer once you start to add objects, or you can create a new sublayer within it. And so you can see that I got this little arrow here once I created a new sublayer, and there it is. I'm going to go back and I'm just going to create some shapes. When you pull out any shape at all, it automatically creates a new sublayer, and so you can see that now there's a little arrow right here, and there's my path. So any shape basically made up of anchors and paths is going to be called a path here. So this is the thing that identifies what you've just made. It's going to become handy when you have lots of different shapes on your screen. So if I come out here and I pull out a different shape, you can see that created a new path here. Something that's confusing, and you saw it just happen, that you always have to select off your object. It doesn't automatically do that for you, so you have to sometimes click 2 or 3 times in the artboard to get it to wake up. Okay, so the circle is over top of the star, and if you want to rearrange those, you can simply drag and do that. Or you can use the command and brackets. So the right bracket brings it forward, the left bracket brings it back. That's also able to be done here in the arrange. Bring to front, bring back, send backwards, so on. So say for instance I have a lot of paths there and I need to be a little bit more efficient about it because I have lots of layers here. Maybe I want to create some new shapes over here. Of course I'm going to have to select off them first. And say I wanted a bunch of rounded rectangles that are green. I can click and pull these out now, and they'll be on that layer. Say I don't mind if they're all on the same layer, then that's fine, but you can't really tell the difference between all these green paths, and so you can come along here and select each one, and you see that this little square tells you which one you've selected. But say you're lost and you don't know which one, you have lots of shapes and you're trying to click around and nothing's working. Easy way to select from within the layers menu is click the target here. They call that little thing the donut. And that allows it to be selectable, and you can notice that it's updating down here. So when I select the donut, I can then click it and say, oh, that's the one I'm looking for. Once again, you can also move these around, so these layers and sublayers can all be stacked differently. Let's see, I'm going to create a third layer. I'm going to put it on the bottom. What happens here is sometimes you'll do that, but it leaves that second layer selected. So make sure that you select the layer that you actually want to work with. And so for this last part, I'm going to click on a rectangle. Remember to click off so I have nothing selected. Come over here, grab a different color. Let's make it gray, and I want to create a background. There it is, it's in the background now, and it's because it's at the bottom of the stacking order. So say for instance if it were on the top, oops, I just dragged that into the other layer. You can see that layer 3, the one that's supposed to be on the bottom, now covers everything else up. So oftentimes if you lose your artwork, sometimes you have to switch on and off the layer here with the eyeball. Okay, last thing with the layers, or last 2 things with the layers palette is you can lock layers. So say I don't want to touch this background, I've created it, but I don't want to mess with it. I want it to stay put, just lock it. And you won't be able to do anything to it. And so now you can go around here and select different parts of your artwork and move them around but not worry about the background. And say for instance this red, maybe that's a little hard to see, or these blue anchor points are a little hard to see, you can always double click the layer and change the color so they show up So see, now those anchor points are a lot easier to see. That's really it. That's the layers palette. Lastly, if you want to get rid of a layer, drag it to the trash.